Hey, one more thing before you go. In today's episode, we're kicking our way into the world of martial arts, nostalgia, and drama with a review of the hit Netflix series Cobra Kai. Diane, are you ready to enter the dojo?
The dojo? Yes. Sure. Let's see what I've learned by watching Cobra Kai
Well, I think we should grab our favorite cup of tea.
or whatever you're drinking. Just don't bring it into the dojo, right?
Exactly. Sit back and join us as we explore the world of karate, traditions, rivals, villains, and heroes. We'll discuss the standout moments, character arcs, and why this series has become a must watch for both old fans like us
Yeah, we're old.
and yep, and new viewers alike. Stay tuned because you won't want to miss this. I'm your host, Michael Hurst. I'm here with my lovely wife and co-host, Diane.
Well, hello everyone.
Welcome to One More Thing Before You Go Over the Teacup Sunday. Hey, Diane.
Hello, Michael.
This is kind of going to be fun, I think. We are a little late to the program, so to speak. I know that this has been showing these, they've got 6 seasons now. They're not done
Yeah,
with season 6, they're in the middle of
right.
season 6.
Didn't it start in 2018?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So,
And,
yeah, we're late. Well, you weren't. Did you start watching it in 2018?
I did. I started watching it and then I kind of stopped around halfway through season 4.
Hmm.
And then, I've been, kind of put it aside for a little while and got caught up with so many other things and, life, blah, blah, blah. And
Hmm.
then I kind of said, hey, you really got to watch this.
Yeah. The reason I didn't watch it from the beginning is because it has been so long since I've seen the Karate Kid movies. In fact, I
Yeah.
don't even know. I don't know if I've seen all of them. I just really don't remember. So the only one I really remember is the first one, and it's been, 35 years or what, well, no, more than that.
No, it's about
God.
34 years.
Uh,
1984.
right. That would be 40 years this year.
40 years? Where did
Yes.
5 years go?
Because it started in 2018.
Holy smokes.
Anyway, whole thing is that's why I didn't watch it from the beginning. But I love the show. I love the show.
I do too. I mean, it's got its ups and downs, which we'll talk about. But, the realistically, we have a little bit of a was that 6 degrees of separation from the
Well,
show? At least I do,
okay. Go ahead and
because
explain.
Jeff Ryan was one of
Oh,
Joey
right.
Lawrence's
No,
uh,
Johnny Lawrence's.
Johnny Lawrence's bullies,
Right.
entourage, gang of guys,
Right.
and during that time period, and I interviewed him. We became really good friends. I'm good friends with him and his wife to this day.
Hmm.
He
Yeah.
now plays with a band that actually played the original song for the movie.
Right. Survivor.
Yeah,
The band Survivor.
and he plays with them now. Plays in tours with them
Yeah.
now, which is kind of an ironic, um, you know, turn of events because he actually got out of acting, but he stayed in music, and
Hmm.
then ends up with the band,
That did the
you
theme
know,
song.
that
Yeah.
played the theme song for his first movie,
Yeah. Hmm.
which I think is kind of cool. But listen, for those of you who might not know, Cobra Kai is a continuation of that beloved 1984 film, The Karate Kid. This series brings back some of the original stars, including Ralph Macchio as Daniel LaRusso and William Zabka as Johnny Lawrence. And what we find is there's a whole slew of individuals that were characters within the original Karate Kid 1, 2, and 3 that have shown up, especially in the first one for sure, that have
Hmm.
shown up in the series itself, all but one, which we'll explain here in a little bit. And obviously, it does not have Mr. Miyagi, played by Pat
Right.
Morita, because Pat Morita died a few years ago, and unfortunately was pretty sad.
Hmm.
These characters, once fierce rivals, find themselves entangled in a new generation of karate conflicts, but with a twist of redemption and personal growth. It's kind of captivated audiences with this blend of humor, heartfelt moments, intense martial arts. It's got a lot of martial arts. You
Hmm.
can learn to
A lot.
wax on, wax off, paint the fence. You can learn.
All of it.
Yeah, that's why I say you
Hmm.
right to step in dojo. You've been watching enough of these. You should be able to paint the fence and sand the
Yep.
deck and you know wax on, wax off. Uh,
Hmm.
the series has successfully run for 6 seasons, each one building on the legacy of the original film, which introduced new characters and storylines that keep the viewers hooked. It started, and I was a little late to the game myself too, because it actually started on what they call YouTube Red, which I think eventually
Okay.
became YouTube TV.
TV.
But
Oh,
yeah, but YouTube Red is a pay for it. It's still a pay for. That's what the kids pay for. The kids pay
YouTube
for it,
Red.
but well, they call it YouTube Red then, but now it's
Oh.
like a premium YouTube. So
Ah.
with premium YouTube, they get like as much as they want to watch, and regular YouTube videos is different from YouTube TV, but
Okay.
it evolved into Netflix, and that's where it has made a home, and that's kind of where it stays.
Hmm.
I think the first couple of seasons I had to catch up to on Netflix because we did not have
Oh,
YouTube
YouTube Red.
Red. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I was a little late to it anyway, but while I
Hmm.
was catching up on the first 2 seasons, then I watched the next 2 seasons, which were up through middle of season 4. And then life stepped in, and here we are doing it all over again.
Well, hopefully we're not the only ones that were late to the party. Hopefully there's someone out there who hasn't started watching it yet and needs to.
Well, and we're here for you. That's why we're
Yeah,
here.
because
What
it's
makes
a
Cobra
great
Kai
show.
truly, yeah, and what makes Cobra Kai truly special is its ability to balance nostalgia with fresh, engaging content. Whether
Hmm.
you're a fan of the original movie, like we are, or new to the franchise, which we're hoping that we're talking to you, there's something in it for everyone. The show explores themes of rivalry, mentorship, and the impact of past decisions on the present, all while delivering high energy karate sequences that are sure to
And
thrill.
yes, and not only that, but they also have little clips from the original movies woven in to different scenes too, which
It
is kind of
does.
cool. They actually revisit the old movies quite a bit, actually.
Well,
So,
and yeah, and in the original, I mean, for those of you that remember the original, like I won't say what our ages are, but we'll say we're old enough to remember the
I don't
original, of
care.
course.
I will be 56 in December. I am loud and proud. I don't care. I am
Okay,
going
okay.
gray. I'm going silver, and I love it. So,
I'm 35. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to let it out there.
okay.
The story follows the washed up Johnny Lawrence, who's William Zabka, who wrestles with the success of his childhood rival Daniel LaRusso, Ralph Macchio, which leads him to reopen the Cobra Kai dojo. Cobra Kai is, it is, you'll see this if you go back. I don't know whether or not anybody out there who's listening or watching has gone back and really watched or had been introduced to the original Karate Kid movies. There were 4 of them, and then there was a remake with I can't remember his name, Will Smith's kid and Jackie
Jaden Smith?
Chan. I'm sorry.
Was it Jaden Smith?
Yes, Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan played the Mr. Miyagi character, and then Jaden Smith
Oh,
played the
that's
Ralph
right. They
Macchio character.
they did do that. I don't
Yeah,
think it
yeah.
did very well. Maybe. I don't
It
know.
didn't. It didn't do too bad, but at that
Mm.
time, this is something I did not know, at that time, in order to do that, Will Smith's production company had to buy into a portion of the Karate Kid franchise, and now they own a
Mm.
portion of the Karate Kid franchise, and they're executive producers on this particular series.
I see.
That's
Hmm.
how that connection goes in there, and actually it was done very tastefully. But I like Jackie Chan anyway. I'm a huge fan of Jackie Chan, so
Yeah. Yeah.
and he did it justice. It wasn't something that he came in and tried to like recreate Pat Morito's character,
Marita.
Morita's character, and which we have a 6 degrees of separation from him too by knowing Gary Marshall,
Oh, yeah.
because Pat Morita was on Happy Days, and
That's
then
right.
we know Gary Marshall. He kissed you on the cheek
We
And
We
that
knew
was
we knew
like,
him.
yeah,
Yes,
many years ago, and you still haven't washed
many
that
years ago.
cheek.
It's amazing how clean it looks. Yeah.
But
No,
it's,
he was very
yeah.
sweet. Gary Marshall, man, what a sweet, 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 sweet man,
Well, yeah, yes. And
and naturally funny.
if you haven't watched the original Karate Kid movies, you really should. And I think on Netflix it has the opportunity for you to go down to the franchise itself and watch Karate Kid 1, 2, 3, and the fourth one. And, Ralph Macchio's in Karate Kid 1 and 2 and 3, and then Karate Kid 4 is with I had her name earlier,
I
Hilary
know.
Swank.
I did Hillary Swank. Yeah.
Hilary Swank. Karate Kid 4 is he takes on Hilary Swank as a student, which
Hmm.
is it's in itself is done really well as well. So I would highly recommend and go back and watch the Jackie Chan and Jaden Karate Kid version as well, because I think you'll find
Hmm.
it's got a lot of similarities, of course, because they're trying to reinvent that story. Not really reinvent that story. They're kind of trying to give credence to the story itself.
Hmm.
I'm not sure why they remade it in that particular instance, but I'm glad that they did it with Jackie Chan.
Hmm.
That's all I can say is that,
Yeah.
it didn't detract from me in any form. It just felt to me like they were just carrying on the legacy, and I'm a huge fan all the way
I didn't see
around.
it. I'm sorry. I did not see it. Like I said, I don't know which ones I've seen. I know I've seen the first one. I know I have.
And you have seen the second one.
Okay. If you say so, I probably
Yes,
have.
you have,
I probably have. Yeah.
but I
But
know
I
you
need
haven't seen
to,
the third.
I would say if you haven't started watching Cobra Kai yet, go watch the other movies first. Just because they do reference the movies a lot.
At
And
least
I'm
one and
like,
two.
at least one and two. And I'm constantly going, okay, we got to stop this. What? Explain that. Okay, what? And then we go on, and then like 20 minutes later, I'm like, okay, wait, what? What are they talking about? So if you don't want to, if you don't want to watch Cobra Kai like that, I suggest you go watch the movies first, and then watch Cobra Kai.
Well, it gives you a better understanding too of the rivalry and what's going on, and because there's a lot of back and forth on this rivalry because it's still going, and each one of the characters, the main characters, um, they're not they're not letting go when they should
Mm-mm.
be letting go. And I mean,
Yeah.
we've all done that in life, right? We've all held grudges for a really, really long time, and then of course that sometimes the evil will pop back up in, kind of a thing.
Hmm.
But you'll find out that there are some learning curves within this. I believe are really good. The actors and everything we'll talk about that too. But this group of actors that are within this, they are believable. They kind of reflect certain sections of society,
Hmm.
especially in the bullying arena, which
Yeah.
we as parents, we as we're not grandparents, but we as parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, brothers, sisters, whatever the case may be, we've all experienced bullying at some point in our lives, whether it be ourselves or whether it be through our children or through our grandchildren or through our nieces, nephews, or whatever, or our brothers, or
Hmm.
sisters, whatever the case may be. This kind of teaches people lessons as well in regard to
Yeah.
patience and
It's
virtue. And
it's a huge, it's a really really huge theme throughout this series. Um, but it was in the first movie too, so or maybe in the second if I just don't remember. I'm sorry.
yeah,
But also they do go back and forth a lot with some things, and it's like it's the only thing about it that kind of gets to me. It's like, okay, guys, come on, like
yeah.
let's get it together. Let's be a little more consistent. Let's stop going so much back and forth in friendships or rivalries. There's a lot of back and forth. It's almost a little too much for me.
Well, and you also see, decisions can have lasting effects as well
Hmm.
within it. What we see is, at the time that it started, it was 34 years after
Hmm.
the original match between Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso,
Hmm.
and it kind of shows that if the wrong decision is made, it could have long-term effects on people. One, look, I mean, you can see this. Obviously, you'll see it when you look at the trailers. One becomes very successful. One kind of goes down the other path,
Hmm.
and so you can see that decisions we make a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. Or the
You
grudges
know,
we hold, even. I mean,
yeah,
I do like what they're doing with this is really introducing the next generation, and
yeah,
it's really about the next generation more than LaRusso and Lawrence. But there's a lot of LaRusso and Lawrence in it too. But it also shows, how their decisions and the way that they um, were with each
handled.
other
Yeah,
back then affects the future generations. So um, we all need to really be careful of those things.
I agree with that. I agree with that. And I do like, they both Zabka and LaRusso, not LaRusso, Zabka and
And Macchio.
Macchio, Ralph Macchio, are
Hmm.
executive producers on this series. It took a while for them to get both of them to agree to commit to the series, believe it or not, because they weren't
Hmm.
sure how it was going to play out with it, and they weren't sure if they were going to want to get involved in that perspective. And Ralph Macchio himself had too much respect. He said, "I had too much respect for the franchise in the first place, especially after Pat Morita died.
Hmm.
He was a little hesitant about getting involved, but
Hmm.
when they brought back so many people from the original series and said, "Look, we're trying to make this into something that is carrying that memory forward," it convinced him, and then he in turn convinced uh, Zabka to come in as Johnny Lawrence to kind of reignite that so that they could teach a new generation, like you just said, and it shows.
Hmm.
I mean, you see the
Yeah.
growth. So far we're only what do we have? We're more than halfway through on season 4.
4. Hmm.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
where I had stopped it originally.
Hmm.
So, but
It.
we're
I, I like um I like how they are telling the backstory to the characters who are bullies, basically.
yeah,
They tell a
yeah,
lot of backstory to that, and you
yeah,
start to go, oh, that explains a lot about them. And then you kind of
yeah.
start feeling compassionate toward them, like,
You have a
you
better
know,
understanding. Yeah,
yeah. And I think it's a life lesson for all of us to realize, look, we don't know everyone's story. So don't be judging. Don't be judging because you don't know.
it's and it's really to me what's really cool is the fact that the both Macchio and Zapka as Johnny Lawrence and as LaRusso,
Hmm.
they really wanted to make sure they said, if we are really kind of bringing the love forward from the originals, then we need to reunite all of our, a lot of our cast
Yeah.
and so forth that had been there. So
It was really great the way they've done that, and it's pretty cool to see. Like, oh, and I know I've asked you several. Like, oh wait, that was actually the person that acted in the first. Is that really them? It's just really cool. Not a lot of series do that. You
do that,
know.
yeah. They brought everybody back except for one individual. The original Karate Kid starred Rob Garrison, Ron Thomas, Tony O'Dell. They all returned. The notable absent was Chad McQueen. It was explained away in dialogue, stating that McQueen's character Dutch was doing time in prison. When you look at the original movie, what you see parallels in the series,
Hmm.
he was a bully, and he had a gang of bullies, and
Hmm.
they were all trained by another bully,
Hmm.
who shows up at, what did we figure out he was, 77 or 78 years old?
Oh, you mean
He plays
Kreese?
Crease.
John Kreese? Yeah, he's 77. He's 77 in real life.
Yeah, it's crazy. And
Yeah.
he still does his thing.
Hmm.
You can tell he's a little older, but he's still doing his thing.
Yep.
But he's a villain then. He's kept the villainous persona, came
Oh,
through with it.
he's now they do go into his backstory, so it
You understand it a little bit more.
you understand it a lot more. I still just I'm still very mad at him. I'm trying to find the compassion for him, but he's the toughest one for me to find the compassion for.
Well, exactly, because he's still an asshole.
He really is.
I mean, plain and
I mean,
simple. And
he's
then, of
just
course, there's
he's
another one
awful.
that shows up in the Karate Kid Part 2 and 3. Terry Silver, the
Hmm.
character's Terry Silver. And, you see that come about as well because he connects with them again here in season 4. And, you know, he tries to be the nicey guy, but we're seeing that the crease is like a evil
He's a
cancer.
manipulator. He is. He's a
Yeah,
manipulator. Hmm.
big time.
Hmm.
But anyway, the actual reason that McQueen left is because side note, he's the son of legendary actor Steve McQueen, which us old people will know Steve McQueen. For you young people, look Steve McQueen, not the director, actor, not the current one. This Steve McQueen is like, look up, let me see, one of the best ones, The Great Escape. That's Steve McQueen. And you'll know who we're talking about.
Hmm.
He long since retired from acting and now works full time with his company. He builds high performance race cars and motorcycles, and which his dad used to drive. Steve
Hmm.
McQueen used to race cars on the racetrack, but he's just too busy to film it. But everybody else
Yeah.
got brought back. Say they even brought back Elizabeth Shue,
Hmm. Yeah.
which
That was cool.
the original
That was cool.
girlfriend in this, and they brought back his Ralph Macchio had another girlfriend
You
when
mean
they go back to Japan in the Muso.
Daniel LaRusso had another girlfriend.
Yeah,
Right.
I keep overlapping them.
Yes, you do.
But, it's interesting because brought her back too. And then
Hmm.
there's another character, two characters actually, in the series that they bring back from the movies from Japan that
Hmm.
they had. So they really kind of showed the love all over the place, which I think is pretty
Yeah,
damn cool.
that was really great. I liked those, I don't know, 2 to 3 would you say 2 to 3 episodes they had those two in?
Yeah.
They were cool. Those were good episodes. They were kind of pivotal episodes, I think, for him, for his character.
Well, what's really nice about this is that they call this part of the Miyagi verse because they don't really include anything from the Jackie Chan, Jaden Smith
Hmm.
Karate Kid, but they do through the Miyagi verse. And the show includes never before seen Karate Kid footage, which features like different videos and little clips and things like that, flashbacks to events from the Karate Kid. But if you were thinking like some of the footage didn't look totally familiar, because I know it may not look familiar to you because you don't remember
I don't
the
remember the
other movie
movies.
you have seen. But for
Right.
me, I'm kind of going, I don't remember that,
Mm.
in the back of my head. But the director, John G. Alvinson, spent hours filming the 1984 film tournament scene for multiple takes and multiple angles, resulting in a lot of footage that never got used. And as a
Oh,
result, there remained a lot of leftover material shot in the sequence, which Cobra
oh,
Kai
interesting.
was able to utilize. And it's never before
Cool.
seen footage, including a shot of Johnny looking up into the stands and seeing his own parents sitting there, as well as three new angles of Daniel's legendary crane kick, which he used in the original movie. And I remember him when Lawrence looked up and saw his family up in the stands. I thought, "No, I don't remember that.
Mm.
I don't remember seeing his
That,
family at all."
now, what? Okay, that I must have missed that.
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a flashback of him looking up in the stands when they
Mm.
were. Remember when they did the tournament
Hmm.
and when Johnny Lawrence and LaRusso are doing the new tournament that is in Cobra Kai, where they were able to
Hmm.
get back on the tournament stage, and that's when the new champion was Miguel. The new champion was
Hmm.
crowned. The
Hmm.
Johnny had looked up in the stands And while he was looking at the stands, that Miguel's parents, his mom and his grandmother, not his parents, but his mom and his grandmother, it
Right.
flashed back to Johnny Lawrence looking up in the stands at his parents.
Hmm.
And I
I
thought,
missed it completely. Wow.
yeah. And I didn't remember ever seeing that, but now I know why, because it wasn't actually in there.
Hmm.
And this film actually was. Speaking of parents, uh, Johnny Lawrence, the character, we found out now has a bully of a stepdad, and the bully of the stepdad was
Hmm.
Lou Grant, and Lou
Not
Grant,
no Ed
no, Ed
Ed
Asner,
Asner.
pardon me, not Lou Grant, Ed Asner, who we all remember as
Hmm.
Lou Grant or Santa Claus in Elf.
Yes. Yes.
Which, when you see him as Santa Claus in Elf, you would never see the ass he is in Cobra Kai.
No, not at
But it
all.
was,
Wow.
yeah, but it was like his last series, along with the other guy who died of cancer. One of the other cast members, that this was, it was his
Oh,
last TV.
I know what I was going to ask you. That you're talking about Johnny Lawrence's crew, basically the crew
Yeah,
of bullies, and they come back. Um, um, so one of them, the actor himself,
yeah.
was actually dying of cancer, and they brought him back. And this was the last thing he got to do.
And he was
And
playing
he
for real life. In real life he's got cancer.
cancer, and the character also, they wrote it in that he would have cancer, and that was a really great. Oh, those were that was, I think it was like one or two episodes that had that whole storyline in
Yeah,
it. So good. Very touching.
and he
But that's what I
actually
was going to,
physically died right not too long after filming that. He
after filming it.
literally died.
Yeah. So the thing I was going to ask you was, um, so Jeff was kind of in the movie. Your friend Jeff was kind of, he was one of the bullies, but he was one of the secondary bullies then, and that's why
Correct.
he wasn't back in this one. Okay.
That is correct. The
Okay.
primary, I mean, he was in it, and he had lines, and
Hmm.
the the whole bit, but he wasn't one of there were central
The three or
characters.
four, right? There were
Yeah.
like four of them.
Yes. Very
There were,
central.
and they in Cobra Kai they bring back three because the fourth one in real life didn't want to come back, and that's the one that they say the character is in prison, and that's why he
Correct.
wasn't there. Okay.
McQueen.
Right.
McQueen. But the new Cobra Kai young cast of newcomers is headed up by a holo. I'm going to mess this guy's name up. I'm sorry. Marinduena as Miguel Diaz. And he kind of mirrors Daniel's experience in The Karate Kid, where
Hmm.
Miguel starts out as a bubbly kid who has just moved to the area and winds up getting picked on. However, rather than finding a Zen like Mr. Miyagi to teach him karate, Diaz begs Johnny Lawrence to train him, inadvertently rekindling Johnny's rivalry with Daniel. And that's kind of how it all gets started. So you see a lot of similarities between the regular movies and this one, especially the original number one
Hmm.
movie. And
Yeah.
you see the rivalry that continues in two and three, absolutely. And three actually has got more bullies that show up, which they deal with them as well later in this um, series. We will find
Hmm.
out that they're going to come in. You'll see some
Yeah.
people, and we've already met one of them actually, because the guy that when he went back to Japan to save the dealership, and
Yeah.
he ran into him. Yeah, at the time he would
That
have been a
was
bully, and that's because
that
I
was
remember you saying, "Did I see that? I don't remember this part of the movie. I don't remember him in the
hmm
movie." So that might be the
right.
one that you did not see.
That could be. But those were
Um,
good episodes.
but given that Diaz eventually starts working his way through being a Karate Kid champion, it makes sense. His training regimen was kind of one of the most intense, along with Robbie's, who we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But his training comprised of a maybe 2 to 4 hour regimen of working with
Wow.
professional stunts, martial arts, boxing, strength, and yoga. All the kids that are in there, the primary kids in here,
Hmm.
all basically are trained in martial arts for real. So
Hmm.
what you see in here, and you see them sparring, you see them fighting and everything else, they
It's real.
actually trained like that.
They'd have
And
to. There's a lot of it.
yeah, and it is a. I think it is a lesson for everyone to also to understand as you watch this is
Hmm.
that I train with martial arts. I've trained in Aikido. I've trained in Kung Fu. I did not train in karate. Aikido and Kung Fu are Chinese forms. Karate is more of a Japanese form. But it's all the same. You have philosophies and you have theories and you have, traditions that you follow when you're training with martial arts and when you are practicing martial arts. There are certain aspects that you stick with. I mean, look, some of those help me to get to walk again
Right.
and to learn to walk
That's
again
true.
because I use
Yeah.
some of the disciplines that I learned in there and practicing how to learn to walk again through what one, two, three, at least four of my surgeries.
Hmm.
So it's you learn some of this on here. You get to see that
Hmm.
there are some philosophies that, and that it can be a positive thing to learn something like a discipline, whether it be
Hmm.
karate or taekwondo or kung fu or hapkido or aikido or whatever the case may be.
They all involve discipline of the mind, not only the body.
Exactly, exactly.
Hmm.
And and some of what I think part of the storyline in here is in the original Karate Kid movies, we see Daniel as a victim.
Hmm.
But in reality, what we're seeing is that Daniel actually might be a bully himself.
In a way.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, they're
Yeah.
portraying it this way. He constantly picks
Hmm.
fights with Johnny,
Hmm.
escalating violence between the two of them. He was, back in the beginning, he stole his girlfriend. And Cobra Kai constantly reframes events from the Karate Kid so we can see them from Johnny's perspective, but it also
Yeah.
suggests that LaRusso's continuing his petty ways. So you
Hmm.
see him doing the same thing now. You see both of them being stubborn. You see both of them going, I'm right. No, I'm right. No, I'm right.
Hmm.
No, I'm right. So like what we do.
They're like it's like they're married.
But
But overall I'm always right, so it doesn't matter. It's fine.
if, you will say,
I'm always right.
for purposes of this program, we'll say yes. So, in Cobra Kai, LaRusso often makes situations worse with his hot temper and consistently believes that the worst of Johnny, even when there's no reason for him to do so. So, I know that we've seen that in some of this. So, part of that kind of irritates me to a point. It
Yeah.
goes back to the same thing. So, I mean, there's always pros and cons whenever we view or review some of these shows or these
Hmm.
movies that we watch. And in my opinion, we both agree on this. That's blurring the lines between good and bad
Hmm.
because we're seeing it's like, come on, man. Now you're being a bully and now you're being the asshole.
Well, I don't know if I 100% agree with that. I think what they're showing is that all of us have good traits and bad traits, and it just depends on when we decide to use those traits. And there's a time and a place. Sometimes you have to kind of be the bad guy. You know, you have to you
Yes.
have to when you're trying to when you have to stand up for yourself, you have to integrate that bad part of yourself though a little bit to face them.
But there's also times where you have to be the good guy.
Well,
And
sure,
it also
absolutely.
shows that sometimes when you're a good guy, you still get the short end of the stick.
Shows that it depends on what kind of decisions you make, and there's you know you can make the wrong decision at the wrong time. And I think it's just a way. I think it's a theme that they're trying to say that look, we're all human, and we
Yeah,
all have these parts to us.
I agree with that. But that brings us to Robbie Keane, the character Robbie Keane. Tanner Buchanan is really good. He's a great actor. He really is.
Hmm. I feel like
He's
I've
had
seen him in other things. Have we seen him
he's
in other things?
I believe so. Yeah, I think he's been a Disney character. Like, there's a couple of people in here that have been Disney
Okay,
character, or
maybe
not
that's where
characters,
I've.
but a Disney kid.
Yeah.
But he has the most martial arts training of anyone in the core cast. Actually, he's actually got
Hmm.
more martial arts training than both theoretically Johnny Lawrence or LaRusso, who are training him.
Mm.
He in real life, Tanner Buchanan plays Robbie Keane, the semi-estranged son of Johnny Lawrence. He gets drawn into the world of karate thanks to the kindness of Daniel LaRusso. Keane has had his fair share of difficulty in visually impressive fights, but it makes sense that the actor picked to play him would have some karate experience, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But his parents, his mother, actually has a history with karate. His mother
Mm.
got him interested in karate when he was just a small child. So he trained with his mother on a lot of different, styles with karate, and he has a purple
Wow.
belt. He has a
In
purple
in
belt.
real life, he's got a purple belt.
Well, he's got a purple belt in Taekwondo, and he's got like a
Oh.
teal
Okay.
belt in karate. So he knows both Taekwondo
Oh.
and karate.
Okay.
And a purple belt is about halfway to a black belt.
Mm.
And for those of you that don't know, in certain factions in martial arts, the color of your belt gives you, kind of in a glance, if you're a beginner or just past a beginner, intermediate, or in between intermediate and advanced, or advanced. A
Right.
black belt is the top level. A white belt is the beginning. A yellow belt's the next
Hmm.
level. Kind of goes like that.
Hmm.
So it gives you an idea of the reason there's a significance to the color of the belt based upon your
Right.
experience with the art itself.
Right.
Which and he's more advanced because of that.
You can
The
see it. You really, now that I know this, you can see it just in
his
um his
form.
acting. When he's, yeah, his form, and even when he's just just his posture even
Well,
is
he's got
different than the
more.
rest of them.
Yeah, and as they say, he's got more in than anyone else in the Miyagi verse, including Macchio and Pat Morita himself, Mr. Miyagi. Pat
He's
Morita.
wait,
Yeah, Pat Morita actually
what?
learned karate for the movies.
Oh, interesting.
I had heard that before, and I validated
Huh.
it before we started. Pat
Yeah,
Morita actually learned karate for the
for the
movies,
movies. Huh.
and
Okay.
he continued with it, afterwards because he felt that hey,
Hmm.
this is really kind of his works.
Hmm.
And the only Karate Kid who beat Buchanan is the 2010 reboot Jackie Chan, who has a black belt in Hapkido as well as being proficient in Wing Chun, Kung Fu, and the list for what Jackie Chan knows is a lot longer.
Yeah.
But theoretically, Hapkido is a more it's kind of it's a deadly form of
Hmm.
Aikido, is what
Hmm.
Hapkido is. And I've been trained a little bit in Hapkido, not a lot in Hapkido. I just started learning Hapkido before I got injured.
Hmm.
Started training some people down from the Fountain Police Department. But he's proficient in so many others that, in fact, on a side note, Jackie Chan actually was in movies with Bruce Lee and trained a little bit with Bruce Lee. So,
Hmm.
it would be hard to kind of really overpass him at the moment.
So, as far as the Miyagi verse, he probably is the top one as far as what he knows.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, yes. And I mean, even Hilary Swank. Hilary Swank she learned karate while she was filming as well. She's one of those
Hmm.
actors that if you're going to be a karate expert, then you can learn it. You're going to be a boxer.
Right.
What she did with Clint Eastwood, the movie with Clint Eastwood, Million Dollar Kid or
Right.
something like that.
Million Dollar
She learned
Baby.
Million Dollar Baby. Well,
Hmm.
kid baby. I was close. I was
Close.
close.
Hmm.
But she learned to box,
Yeah.
and she learned karate and she learned taekwondo and things like this. So, and she's not shown up or appeared in this,
Hmm.
which she may never because she really didn't know Mr. Miyagi,
Right.
from the beginning.
Well,
Whereas,
what do you mean?
or
Well, I
not
thought,
Mr. Miyagi, not Mr. Miyagi. She didn't know LaRusso.
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
She did not know LaRusso, whereas Elizabeth Shue showing up makes sense because
Right.
Elizabeth Shue was in the first movie, the second movie, and she was his girlfriend. You know,
Yeah.
she was the girlfriend that he stole from Johnny Lawrence.
Hmm.
But,
She
you
was
know,
the one that started it all.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, Martin Cove, same thing. Martin Cove plays Kreese, you know, where he's the asshole. But it's even had Daniel's mom, Randy Heller. And
Yeah.
she'd
She
been in
was
a
in it
lot of
too.
things as well, but had his original mom come in too. And then
Hmm.
Thomas Ian Griffith plays Terry Silver. And then what we'll see, if you watch all three movies, you'll see Tamerlane Tomita. She plays Kumiko. She was the girlfriend that he found in Japan.
Hmm.
And then Yuji Okamoto is chosen, which is coming into the fifth season. We will see
Oh,
him. He's the one that, when he went back to Japan and showed him
some stuff.
some stuff. Yeah, we don't want to
Yeah.
give it all away.
Yeah. So he's coming back then. That character's coming back
Yes.
in the fifth season. Okay, cool. I liked
Yeah.
him. I liked him.
So, you know, it is, I think it is it's been a tribute to
Hmm.
the original
Yeah.
Karate Kid series, the Miyagi verse type thing. I think that the fact that William Zabka and Ralph Macchio agreed to come back in, I think that it adds credence to the whole thing all the way around. If it wouldn't have
Hmm.
brought those two people in, I think that this would not have, you know, with that rivalry continuing, I don't think it would have
Right.
been as popular as it is right now. Because even when they first started it up, realistically, the crowd that they were attracting probably didn't or not weren't old enough to have watched
No, no. Mm-mm.
the
Unless they had
original
been
one
introduced to it, and if they had been introduced to it purposefully
through their
by their
parents.
parents.
Yeah,
Right. Did we ever have the girls seen it? Did we
I
ever play
think
that for
so.
the girls?
Yeah, I think
I
they
would
probably.
think you would have.
Yeah, I think I did. I think I showed them.
Yeah.
I do believe.
Yeah.
I do believe.
Did
Um,
are either of them watching? Did you ever? I thought Nikki watched Cobra Kai, didn't she?
Nikki watched Cobra Kai. Kaylin did
Yeah,
not.
and she liked it. Okay.
As I said earlier, Machio, for his part, just he felt protective over the Karate Kid legacy in general, was hesitant to say yes. And he said no really, really too many times. It took many meetings with both actors individually for the creators to finally convince them that Cobra Kai was a good idea. Both actors have since settled into the show and said they are thrilled to return to their iconic characters. There is a person on here that has become the quintessential Johnny Lawrence character. This young woman's name is Peyton List, and she plays Tori. Tori
Whew.
is, I mean, she's talented in martial arts herself already,
Yeah. Yeah.
and she has been known in the Disney Channel universe. She played Jessie and Bunks, which I don't know what that was or if
Mm-mm.
I've ever seen it. She
Mm-mm.
was apprehensive about auditioning for the Cobra Kai, but was convinced she hadn't won the role until she auditioned at the last minute. She didn't think she was going to fit for it, wasn't sure if she could do it, but she was able to convince them to put her in. And let me tell you, she,
She's she's something else. That's all I can say about that one.
yeah, and
I Wow.
we know her from another show that we have been watching, waiting for the season to come back,
Yes.
and
School spirits.
School Spirits.
Yes.
Yeah,
Love it.
yeah. We'll have to do
Love
a
it.
review on School Spirits before it comes back because yes,
Did we
um,
not? I feel like we did a review on that.
I don't know if we did. I have to look and see if we did.
Yeah. If we didn't, we have to because that's a great show.
Yeah,
And
you know it's
she's really great. She's great in that one too. I mean, I think she's really going to go somewhere. She's a great. She's intense, man. She's just intense.
but you know I do before we leave I do feel that I know that I have been reading some stuff in regard to the fan theory that Daniel LaRusso is actually the bad guy or the
Mhm.
bully, the actual bully.
Mhm.
And you know, the
Mhm.
more and more I watch this, the more and more I kind of think, you know, he wasn't instigator to a certain perspective. Even back
Hmm.
then, he was an instigator, which I won't give anything away. And
Yeah.
then again, every time, well, you kind of see this, but you'll
Yeah.
make
It's
your own
it's
judgment.
it's hard to see him doing that. It's just like, come on, man, what are you doing? But I have to say, okay, so like all the characters are great. There's not I can't say there's not one I hate, but there is. But I'm supposed to. So Kreese I hate because you're supposed to hate Kreese, and I really,
Yeah.
really hate him. Like I want to. I don't like
And
him at
Terry
all.
Silver,
I so far I like Terry Silver. So I mean, I don't remember Terry Silver from before.
he was an
So
ass.
I'm
I mean,
really
an
only
ass.
seeing this Terry Silver who actually had changed a lot apparently. But it's turning out that he's very easily manipulated by Kreese.
Yes.
Don't like that
And
at all.
he was manipulated by Kreese before in the original movies, and he turned Daniel LaRusso to the dark side for a while
Yeah. Yeah. So
before Miyagi
I
kind
don't
of
remember any of that. I guess
see,
I really, wow.
yeah, we'll have to
I don't
watch
know if
him.
I saw the movie. Yeah, I have to watch it. But what I was going to say is that I do have a favorite character, even though I love them all, except for Kreese. I love Johnny Lawrence. I literally love Johnny Lawrence. And I swear to you, when I saw the movie in 1984, I never ever would have thought those words would come out of my mouth. I love Johnny Lawrence.
So
There, I said it.
yeah, oh
I
yeah,
love him.
you see a transformation, and actually feel sorry for him, certain,
Yeah.
especially now that you learned his backstory and you understand. Those of us that know the original movies, again, didn't have that backstory. Now they
Nope.
filled in those gaps, and that backstory kind of comes back, and you go, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense,"
A lot of sense.
kind of thing.
And he's so funny. Let me tell you, he cracks me up.
And
He cracks me up.
do you remember How I Met Your Mother?
Yes.
You remember Barney Stinson?
Yes.
Do you remember Barney Stinson constantly making reference to the Karate Kid and how much he
Yes.
idolizes the hero of the movie?
Yeah. Yep.
You go in season 8, episode The Bro Mitzvah. Stinson makes it clear that he thinks Johnny Lawrence is the Karate Kid, not
Right.
Daniel LaRusso. And they
Right.
think that's where they kind of come from. In fact, when Ralph Macchio shows up
Okay.
as himself to congratulate Barney Stinson on
Right.
his engagement, Stinson's absolutely furious. It's only
Mm-hmm.
when William Zabka shows up, having been disguised as a clown, that Stinson calms down. So,
Yep.
yeah, that's just a little bit of trivia that I throw in there that I
Yep.
did on my research. So,
I forgot
yeah.
about that. Yeah.
Another little
Yeah.
piece of trivia, most of
That's
the
good.
Cobra Kai actors are professional dancers. Most of the most of the outside the primary actors. So when you see all of the other karate, the kids in the karate, the dojo,
Mm-hmm.
where they're
So
not focusing
the
on,
secondary ones that don't ever really
yes,
have any lines. Right.
are actual professional dancers.
Interesting. Well, I mean, dancing's not too far from that, I guess. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in dancing that's very similar. So,
Well, I think that, you know, the, my understanding from what I've done on the research, the casting directors tried to pick actors with a background in professional dance or gymnastics
hmm.
aside from the main characters so that all the kids training in the dojo worked, to a point where they at least understanding when they said, okay, you got to do this, 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 and this to make it look
Hmm.
like a fight for choreography,
Right.
then they were able to pull that off without having to go out and find, 50 or 60 kids that actually know karate
Right.
that may look better or better than the primary actors.
Right.
You know what I
They can't
mean?
show them up. Right. They can't show them up. So they have to,
Exactly.
but they have to have enough of something, a physicality about them and
To
a
be able to,
discipline.
yeah, to be
Right.
able to pull it off. So,
Huh?
and at least
Very good.
another bit of trivia: William Zabka and Ralph Macchio are actually great friends in real life. They have
I
been,
love that.
even during the movie and
Oh,
after the movie.
yeah.
So
I
when
love
they,
that.
yeah, I mean, you see the chemistry on there anyway, because they are great friends, which is, I think, kind of cool actually.
It is.
Not
It's very
not all
cool.
of us get to keep friends from 25 or 30 years ago, 30 or 40. Well, let's rephrase that since I learned earlier that I'm older than I thought. Don't keep friends
I
from
have.
40 years ago.
I have a lot of friends from junior high, high school. We talk a lot.
Well,
So,
and it's something I had also read that they became even closer after the passing of Pat Morita in 2005.
uh, yeah.
Because of that, it just it was just one big happy family, kind of a thing.
Hmm.
And we learn from all the highs and the lows, and with each one of these characters, I think that you all need to take an opportunity to check out the series.
Yes.
Whether you watch the original movie or not, I would at least watch the original Cobra Kai to give you kind of a
Hmm.
foundation.
You mean
If you
the original
no,
Karate Kid?
excuse me, the original Karate Kid.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think you should watch at least the original Karate Kid because
I agree. I
that'll
agree.
give
Yes.
you a good foundation of what you're watching. And
Yeah.
you can still be a fan if you don't watch it, but just
No,
kind of
yeah.
gives you
It's still a good show, even if you don't know the movies, but I
yeah,
think it'd be easier to follow knowing the movies. And also just be aware it is highly bingeable. Highly bingeable. We were still watching it
yes,
last night and it was midnight and it was like, oh God, we're too old for this. We cannot do this anymore. Stop. So
yes.
just be aware it's very, very, very bingeable.
And Mr. Buchanan's mother, Malona, I was looking through my notes here. She actually has
Hmm.
a black belt in karate. She puts her on par with
Wow.
professionals.
That's pretty cool. Well,
So
you
his
can
mom,
see it in his, yeah, you can see it in Robbie.
yeah,
You can see it in him that he's got that discipline. And it's kind of like, wow, how did he learn that so fast? Like the character really picked up on a lot of being very
yeah.
disciplined when he was very much on the dark side in the very big beginning. It's like, wow, he's really good at that. But that makes sense now.
Well, and the thing that I like about this is we watch, as you all know, we watch a lot of films and a lot of television,
A
and
lot.
many films and television try to attempt spin-offs that go nowhere. Cobra Kai is in keeping with that fact that a lot of movies and TV try to do a spin-off and they don't always work.
Right.
Cobra Kai is already technically a spin-off of the original Karate Kid movie, so being able to pull that off at that time, 34 years later,
Hmm.
I think in itself is a very it's kudos, a feather in your cap, man. I mean,
Yeah, for sure. The fact that it worked as well as it did.
yeah, and, and
Hmm.
and being able to get together as much of the cast, the original cast, to come in and do cameos or come in and kind of work with them.
It's
I
so
think that
cool.
in that
Yeah.
regard itself, I think it's a really kind of an outstanding opportunity for you to see
Hmm.
how number one this industry stays connected and so yeah,
Yeah. Well, and the fact that I mean, it just shows the love that they all had for the franchise
yeah,
to want to come back.
it's
There's
just pretty
so
cool.
many of them, so many of them. So
And
cool.
and we don't want to give everything away because obviously we're not completely through it ourselves.
No,
So if you're
no.
like me and you stop somewhere in the middle, you know, pick it back up again, man. Because in reality, you'll find that the stories are continuing to evolve, and I think the characters, you'll continue to see growth in with these characters. So don't give up on it, and go back and
Mm-mm.
rewatch it if you have to, like I did. I'm glad that I talked you into coming on to
Me
watch this
too.
because it gave us an opportunity to kind of enjoy it together, and
Hmm.
it refreshed my memory of how much I really liked it, loved it,
Hmm.
kind of a
And
deal.
and
So
the fact that you went back to the beginning, even though you had been halfway through season four, you watched all of it. It didn't bother you at all. Like you still enjoyed it,
I
and
still
you
enjoyed it.
still saw things that you're like, oh, I didn't catch that before.
Yeah,
So.
so it works.
Mhm.
So I mean, anything that you want to add to that? Any favorite things? Anything that sticks out?
Like I said, I love Johnny Lawrence. I love him.
just
And
don't just
I
don't leave me
never
for
thought
him.
I'd say it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I might. I'm just saying. I don't know. Um,
I don't know. He drinks. He
and
drinks. Well, we won't say
he
what he drinks
drinks.
because
Yeah.
we're not going to
Never
say it.
mind. I
We
won't be
we
leaving you
won't.
for him.
Yeah, we won't say what it is on because we don't want to
No,
give an
it's
endorsement for
or
or
against.
against.
It would definitely be against. Anyway,
We'll do.
um, yeah, he has a drink of choice, um, and it's very, very, very bingeable. So just be careful of that. That's all I got to say about that. It's a very good show. Watch it.
Well, this is one more thing before you go. So, do we have a play of the day?
National Day.
I always call it play of the day. So,
Yes. So today, there's a few different things. There's National Kiss and Makeup Day, um, National Whiskey Sour Day, National Banana Split Day. Banana split with a whiskey sour. I'm not sure how that would work, but go ahead. Um, National Secondhand Wardrobe Day. So I guess thrift stores are the way to go with that. But I want to point out today is National Park Service Founders Day. So I just want to read about that real quick. So on August 25th, 1916, President Woodrow Wilson signed what is now called the Organic Act to establish the National Park Service. As part of the Department of Interior, the National Park Service protects 400 areas in 50 states, U.S. territories, and the District of Columbia, totaling 84 million acres.
wow.
Isn't that cool? I
Thank
know.
you,
That's so
sir.
awesome. Thank you. And we need to keep preserving them and
Absolutely.
pick up your trash when you go to them, for God's sake.
Absolutely. And yeah, and vote because
And
it's
vote.
important to vote because we want to preserve all of that. And it's important to know that your vote counts in helping to preserve
Yes.
that. You will understand
Yes.
when you see certain things, which we won't go into. Now, I have a
No.
question though. So,
Hmm.
if I was mad at you earlier. So, can we go back to that kiss and makeup thing?
Sure. I didn't know you were mad at me, but okay.
Oh, anyway,
Yes, but we have to watch the football game. So
yeah,
let's go.
go chop chop, get with it.
Chop chop. Gotta watch football.
Well, I will say thank you very much, everyone, for being part of our community. We really appreciate each and every one of you. And thank you for coming back each and every week. Again, we appreciate you sticking with us also with the changes that we're making and evolving into something better for you. If you like us, subscribe, follow, hit the bell, do all that good stuff. Watch us on YouTube and your favorite listening platform. And one more thing before you all go have a great day, have a great week, and thanks for being here.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of One More Thing Before You Go. Check out our website at beforeyougopodcast.com. You can find us as well as subscribe to the program and rate us on your favorite podcast listening platform.